The village was nothing more than a circle of rocks and smoke. Every morning, the same routine repeated like a drumbeat. Men hunted, women gathered, children watched. The cave people lived by instinct, not by choice. They woke up before the sun, chased animals, and ate whatever they could catch. The meat was always raw because no one knew how to make fire. In the village, the elders said, "This is how it has always been." They believed survival meant accepting the world as it was, and so the village accepted it. The nights were cold, the dark was dangerous, the hunger was constant, yet nobody questioned it. Then one day, a child was born. Everyone expected the same: another small body, another set of eyes, another silent future. But this child was different. From the moment he opened his eyes, he looked around as if he was searching for something nobody else could see. He didn't cry like other babies. He watched, he studied, he seemed to be thinking. The elders whispered, "This one will not survive." The hunters said, "He will slow us down." The mothers worried, "He is strange." But the child grew quickly, and his mind grew faster. While others chased animals, he watched how they moved. While others ate raw meat, he wondered why it burned when it touched skin. The village continued its routine, unaware that this child was quietly learning the rules of a world no one had ever tried to change. And then, one night, the child did something that no one expected. The village was asleep, wrapped in the cold darkness. The fire was only a small pile of glowing embers, enough to keep a few faces warm, but not enough to chase away the shadows. The hunters had returned with raw meat, and the villagers were tired and hungry. The child, now a small boy, sat near the embers, staring at them like they were alive. He noticed something the others ignored. The ember didn't move, it didn't grow, it didn't change. It was trapped in its own small world. He wondered, why doesn't it become a flame? He watched the elders poke it, but the embers stayed dull and weak. He remembered how the animals reacted to light. He remembered how the sky lit up during storms. And suddenly, a thought struck him. If the sky can create fire, maybe he can too. The boy began experimenting in secret. He tried rubbing sticks together, but it only created heat, not flame. He struck stones, but only sparks disappeared into the air. He even tried the forbidden idea, hitting rocks too hard, hoping for a spark. But the village was not a place for experiments. The elders said, "Don't waste your time." The hunters said, "You'll get hurt." The mothers said, "You will bring danger." Still, the boy kept trying. Then one night, when the wind was sharp and the cold was unbearable, he found something unusual, a dry, brittle stick that looked like it could break. He held it carefully and struck it against a stone. And for the first time, a tiny spark appeared. The spark was small, but it looked like a promise. The boy knew this was the beginning of something that could change everything. But the spark vanished too quickly, and the boy faced his biggest challenge yet: how to make it stay. The spark appeared like a tiny star, bright and alive for a split second. The boy's heart raced, his eyes widened. For the first time, he saw something that wasn't just survival, it was power. He felt the warmth of possibility. But the spark vanished. The ember died before it could become a flame. The boy stared at the empty stone, his hands shaking. He felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He had seen fire, but he didn't know how to keep it. He tried again and again. Each time the spark appeared, and each time it disappeared. The cold wind stole it. The dry wood couldn't hold it. The boy felt like he was chasing a ghost. The village remained asleep, unaware of the battle happening near the embers. The boy began to understand a harsh truth. Fire wasn't just about creating a spark, it was about protecting it. He tried building small walls around the ember. He tried using leaves, but they burned too fast. He tried using animal fat, but it smothered the spark. Nothing worked. Each attempt ended the same. The spark died. The boy felt the weight of failure. He knew the elders would mock him if they discovered his experiments. The hunters would call him useless. The mothers would say he was dangerous. But he also knew something else. If he could keep the fire alive, he could change the village forever. So he decided to do something risky. He would steal a piece of dry wood from the forbidden forest, a place where no one went because it was believed to be cursed. He would bring it back and he would test it. The next morning, before the village woke, the boy slipped away, and that's when he saw something that made his blood freeze. The forest was not the place for the village. The elders said it was haunted. The hunters said it was dangerous. The mothers said it was cursed. But the boy didn't care. He had seen the spark. He had felt the promise of fire. And now he needed the right wood to keep it alive. He walked into the forest, his feet careful, his heart loud. The trees were tall and silent. The air felt heavier. Shadows moved like they had a mind of their own.
The boy could hear strange noises, cracks, whispers, distant animal sounds. He found the dry wood he was looking for, a branch that was almost like bone. He picked it up, but the moment he touched it, he felt a cold sensation, like the forest was warning him. Suddenly, a shadow moved behind him. An animal appeared, bigger than anything he had ever seen. It had glowing eyes and sharp teeth. The boy froze. His body wanted to run, but his mind remembered the spark. He remembered the promise. The animal approached slowly, as if it was curious, not hungry. The boy realized something. The forest wasn't just dangerous, it was a test. He had two choices: run back to the village and give up, or stay and fight for the spark. He took a deep breath, held the dry wood tightly, and stood his ground. He remembered the ember. He remembered the spark. He remembered the warmth. Then he did something unexpected. He struck the dry wood against a stone right in front of the animal. The spark appeared. The animal flinched. It stepped back. It hissed, scared of the light. The boy had found the solution. Light scares darkness. He ran back to the village with the dry wood and the spark still alive. But the real challenge was still ahead, keeping the fire alive enough to prove it to the village. Back in the village, the boy's hands trembled as he placed the dry wood near the embers. He struck the stone again. A spark appeared. It landed on the wood, and it stayed. The flame grew. The boy watched in silence, as if he was watching a new world being born. The flame flickered and danced, and the heat spread. The cold night began to lose its power. The shadows retreated. But the village still slept. The boy realized he had to show them. He had to prove that fire was not a curse, but a gift. He needed to wake the elders, the hunters, the mothers, everyone. He walked through the village, carrying the flame in a small hollow rock. The light moved like a living thing. The villagers woke up, confused and scared. They saw the boy holding a glowing fire, and they screamed. The elders shouted, "What is this?" The hunters said, "It's dangerous." The mothers cried, "Put it out!" The boy stood still. He knew they were afraid, but he also knew they were ignorant. He had to convince them. He pointed to the fire. He pointed to the cold. He pointed to the hungry faces. He showed them that fire could cook wheat. He showed them that it could keep them warm. He showed them that it could protect them. Slowly, the fear turned into curiosity. But just as the villagers began to accept it, the wind changed. A strong gust blew through the village, and the flames started to flicker violently. The villagers panicked. The boy knew the biggest challenge. The fire could die in one moment. He had to protect it, or everything would go back to darkness. The wind was ruthless. It howled through the village, shaking the tents and pushing the smoke. The flame trembled. The villagers watched in fear. The boy knew that if the fire went out, their hope would die with it. He grabbed stones and built a small circle around the flame. He covered it with a hollow rock. He shielded it with his body. He kept it safe. But the wind kept coming. The flame became smaller and smaller until it was just a tiny ember again. The villagers began to whisper, "It's useless. It can't survive." The elders said, "It will kill us." The hunters said, "It's not natural." The boy felt the pressure of their doubts. He felt the weight of their fear, but he also felt something stronger, determination. He remembered the forest. He remembered the animal. He remembered how the light had scared the darkness away. He realized the solution was not just to protect the fire, it was to feed it. He gathered more dry wood. He added small pieces carefully. He created a controlled flame, not a wild one. He learned to understand fire, not just fear it. The flame grew again, stronger and brighter. The villagers stared in awe. The boy had done it. He had created something the village had never seen. But the village was still not safe. The night was still dark. The hunters still had to hunt. The cold still existed. The boy realized that fire was only the beginning. And in that moment, he heard something in the distance. A loud sound, a roar, a warning. Something was coming to the village. The roar came again, louder this time. The villagers froze. The fire burned brightly, but the darkness still existed beyond the light. The hunters grabbed their spears. The mothers held their children. The boy stood near the flame, ready to protect.
A huge animal appeared at the edge of the light. Its eyes glowed like the fire itself. The hunters raised their spears, but the animal didn't move forward. It seemed to be afraid of the flame. The boy realized something. The fire wasn't just warmth. It was power. It was protection. It was a weapon. The animal approached slowly, but it kept a distance from the flame. The hunters tried to scare it away, but the animal only stared. The boy felt the fear in the village, but he also felt a strange confidence. He knew the fire could protect them. He stepped forward, holding a burning stick. The animal flinched and backed away. The villagers watched in silence. They couldn't believe what they were seeing.
The animal turned and ran into the darkness. The village cheered. They finally understood. Fire was not a curse, it was a gift. But the boy still felt uneasy. The animal had been scared, but it had not been defeated. The boy knew that the world was still dangerous. Fire was not the final answer. The real challenge was to teach the village how to use it. And that was when the elders made a decision. The elders gathered around the fire. They looked at the boy with a mixture of fear and respect. They realized that the world was changing. They realized that the boy had brought something powerful to their lives. The elders said, "We will protect the fire." The hunters said, "We will use it to hunt." The mothers said, "We will use it to cook." The villagers said, "We will never fear the night again." The boy smiled, but he knew the journey was not over. Fire was only the first step. There were more discoveries waiting, more dangers waiting, more changes coming. He looked at the flames and he thought of the future. He imagined a world where the village was not just surviving, but thriving. A world where they could build, create, and grow. A world where darkness would no longer control them. And then he heard the wind again. It whispered through the trees like a warning. The boy knew that the next challenge was coming, but he also knew that he had already changed the village forever. The fire burned brighter, and the night felt less frightening. And in the darkness, a new spark was waiting, the spark that would start the next discovery.